Hello, it's Captain Margaret from the Nines, and this is an entirely new subsection of the channel. We're covering State of Decay, because no one else is covering State of Decay. It's a really good game, it's a zombie game, and I haven't found any other comprehensive things at all, especially to do with the Red Talon people, which is what today's video is about. So, what I'm going to go through in this video is some tips and tricks regarding recruiting the Red Talon people, because it can be a long and arduous process, and then I'm going to go through each of the individual perks, and the traits that give them those perks, and the hero bonuses that are exclusive to the Red Talon Operators. They have been nerfed and buffed so many times that I can't find a comprehensive list of what they do online, so I figured I'd just make one because I have all 10. A disclaimer right at the beginning of the video: although it says 12 strong Red Talon community in the title, that is a little bit of a lie, because you can only get 11. The 12th person is somebody who cosmetically resembles a Red Talon operator, so I use him as my leader because he looks pretty cool. Before we get into the meat of it, some tips and tricks for recruiting. So the recruitment radio callout has a 45-minute cooldown. Now that's bloody long, right? Especially if you're trying to get one specific person. To speed up the process, you can call in the Red Talon operator, quit your game if it's not the one you want, and come back in and it will call in an entirely new Red Talon operator. You can do it 20 times faster at least. The second tip is how to get to 11. When you reach 10 community members, if you try and call in a Red Talon operator, it will say no, you're too full. However, because you can call in Red Talon Daybreak Operators and normal Red Talon Contractor Soldiers, you can call in 2 at the same time, and you can recruit them both at the same time, meaning you can get to 11 people. Side note, if you were below 10 people in your enclave, and you tried to recruit a Red Talon Operator and they said something was wrong, that they couldn't send one to you, kinda means you just gotta go on a bit of a killing spree, because you got too many enclaves on your map and some of them need to leave so you can spawn in a Red Talon operator. Okay, I think that's everything as far as the tips and tricks are concerned, so let's jump straight onto the perks. So to keep this nice and ordered, I'm going to go through this hero bonus that is specific to the 5th perk, the trait that gives them that 5th perk, and then the 5th perk themselves. So I will discuss how useful I think they are, and at the end I'm going to rate them from S, A, B, and C as far as usefulness is concerned. So we're starting off with the Demolitionist. The hero bonus, exclusive to the Demolition 5th trait, is Compact Ordnance, which is +1 max consumable stack for all of your community members. That's pretty good. It's not game-breaking, but it's okay. I like it. The trait is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. You get 5 ammo storage, 5 fuel storage, but you get +2 zombie threat and +1 beds used, so unless you can overgenerate beds, he sucks a little bit. And now for the 5th perk, we have Demolitions. It's +1 max consumable stack, which is pretty good, so this guy can carry a lot of stuff. But then you've got knowledge of munitions and knowledge of electronics, and you'll notice that those are 2 of the specified perk branches that you can use. So for chemistry, for example, you can pick either munitions or pharmacology, and then for computing, you can pick programming or electronics. This perk is okay, although it doesn't give you knowledge of computers or knowledge of chemistry. However, it means if you have somebody with that in your base, they can specify into the other one, meaning you don't have to have 2 people with computing to get electronics and programming. You just need one and this guy, who will also give you something for chemistry as well. So the Demolitionist, all in all, pretty good. Next we move on to one of my personal favourites, which is the Mobile Operations Specialist. So you have Reinforced Chassis, which is the specific hero bonus, which is plus 50% vehicle impact reduction. This is pretty good in normal modes. In Nightmare mode, it's basically essential because those cars are made of cardboard. It's ridiculous. The trait that gives her this and the 5th perk is From an Armoured Unit. Plus 5 max fuel storage, -1 labour, and sometimes wastes fuel. This is pretty good. There's no real loss here because I find that labour peters out when you have more than like 5 people. Sometimes waste fuel is meh, but if you keep your morale around high, cheerful, low empowered, that doesn't really happen. The 5th perk, Mobile Operations, is 50% fuel efficiency, knowledge of mechanics, knowledge of auto mechanics, and +1 fuel a day. This is fantastic. It generates you a resource and gives you mechanics and auto mechanics and fuel efficiency. So it's basically a driver. The Mobile Operations Specialist is one of the best people you can get from the Red Talon Operatives. Next up we have another one of my personal favourites, which is the Firearms Enthusiast. The specific hero bonus is Collecting Brass, which is +2 ammo a day. That's incredible. I don't even need to say anything about that. The Firearms Enthusiast trait is +5 ammo storage, +2 zombie threat, and sometimes waste ammo. That's not bad. Zombie threat makes the game a little bit more exciting, and there's no real negatives, like they don't have any big community effects or anything. And firearms maintenance at the bottom is knowledge of mechanics, knowledge of engineering, and -50% durability loss per shot, which is brilliant. This character doesn't really have any downsides. She gives you a massive possibility of 2 ammo a day and covers your mechanics and engineering costs. This is another one of the top tier Red Talon operatives. Next up we have the Combat Medic. Now my Combat Medic has good example as his hero bonus. This is not in the game anymore, I won't even go through it, it was a placeholder, so it doesn't really matter. The Combat Medic hero bonus that you can get is Field Medicine, which is plus 20 max health for your entire community, which is excellent. The trait, Combat Medic, gives him 5 max med storage, which is nice, but it's 50% fatigue severity for your community, which isn't that great. If you have more than 6 people or so, to be honest, you can just keep going, it doesn't matter. Just keep some coffee on you if you really worry about that. The 5th perk is Combat Medicine. Consumable stack, medical advice, knowledge of medicine, and knowledge of surgery. It's your generic doctor perk with an extra consumable stack in there. This one is less good because you can get health from other sources, and having that fatigue severity can be a bit of a turn off. He's not bad, but he's not incredible either. Next up, we have the Cook. The Cook is fantastic, as long as you get the hero bonus with it. The hero bonus being 150 infection resistance. That's brilliant, and it counteracts the trait, which is 5 max food storage, but plus 50% vulnerability to blood plague. Now that can be a real problem if you don't have kitchen patrol, but if you do, you're sorted, and it's brilliant. Especially seeing as the 5th perk is gut packing, knowledge of cooking, knowledge of nutrition, and minus 30% food used overall. It's basically somebody with a better meal plan that you can look for. You can keep cycling through Red Talon Operatives until you get some with that, rather than having to rely on guesswork as to who has meal plan. So the Cook is pretty good. It can be a risk, but they're good. And now we have the Quartermaster, one of my least favourite. Reconnaissance, the hero bonus that this person has, is not the specific hero bonus for the Quartermaster. I believe the Quartermaster's specific hero bonus is sleeping in shifts, which is plus 3 beds used. So that is okay. However, the perk Quartermaster is 5 material storage, fuel storage, and ammo storage, but it's plus 2 beds used. So even if that was the hero bonus for this person, you only get an extra bed. They generate you 1 bed and some storage. It's not that great, especially seeing as the 5th perk, Logistics, it's just 2 consumable stacks only for that person and 25 parts a day. A knowledge of craftsmanship, not even metalwork or construction. The Quartermaster is the worst one you can get in my opinion. The only reason I've got them is so I can have the full set and I can tell you guys not to bloody get it. Next up we have Fortifications, the Pioneer. The hero bonus is Barn Raisings, which is plus 3 labour, which isn't bad. Again, labour does peter out after a while, especially if you've settled into a base, because I'm never really doing anything in my bases at least that requires all 12 labour. However, if you're the kind of person that likes to move base pretty frequently and like jump all over the map, then it's a pretty good person to have. Worked as a Pioneer is material storage but minus 20% influence gained. I believe that's only on this one character rather than a community thing, because I have only really noticed it on this character. The Pioneer really comes into its own with Fortifications, which is knowledge of craftsmanship, knowledge of construction, 2 materials a day, and minus 2 zombie threat. So it's basically recycling but with some extra perks added on there. I really like the Fortifications. Not as good as either of the mechanics, but I like the Fortifications Pioneer. Okay, next up we have the Comms Engineer. The hero bonus, again, is Reconnaissance. That's one of the kind of generic ones that you can get with the Red Talon Operatives that isn't their own specific one. I believe the hero bonus that is specific to the Comms Engineer is Satellite Radios, which is minus 20% cooldown reduction for most of your radio call-ins, which is pretty good. The Comms Engineer perk is a bit weird. It's 5 food storage, wastes food, and plus 100% food consumed per day, which isn't great. Like, I don't like that at all. However, the 5th perk almost makes up for it because you get an extra outpost limit as well as knowledge of computers and programming. Now, if you kind of reduce that down to basic numbers, what that does is it transfers 1 extra food a day, or 1.5 in Nightmare, into one of any resource you want. Because if you're going to generate that little bit extra food, you get a free outpost that you can use to get any resource, or an artillery strike if you really don't like juggernauts. The next one we're going to go through is the Facilities Engineer. Again, my person has good example, which you don't need to worry about because it's not in the game anymore. I believe the hero bonus specific to the infrastructure is Water Conservation, which is plus 20 max stamina for your entire community, which is really good. Facilities Engineer is max storage for materials and fuel, which is okay, minus 30% facility action speed, which if you can keep your morale at a decent level, then that's okay. It's why I didn't mind having good example on this guy, to be honest, because it kind of cancels that out. The 5th perk, Infrastructure, though, is the best one. Utilities, plumbing, 1 material a day and 1 fuel a day. That's brilliant. Not only does it generate you resources, but it also gives you somebody with plumbing that isn't a useless moron. I hate the plumbing perk because it doesn't allow you to build any interesting facilities really, other than a level 2 bog. But with this, you can actually have somebody with plumbing and maximize the utility of a lot of the bases on the map that have toilets built in, as well as him generating you some materials. That's really good. I love the infrastructure person. Again, it's not quite as good as either of the engineers, so the firearms enthusiast or the mobile operations specialist, but I really like this one. It's up there with the Cook, with gut packing. It's pretty good. And last but not least is the Forager. The hero bonus for this one specific is Foraging Program, which is minus 20% of food consumed. Pretty good. It's a not great meal plan, but it's really, really nice to be able to have that. Forager is plus 5 max food storage and minus 1 labour, sometimes wastes medicine. Again, I don't really mind labour, especially seeing as I've got the barn raisings from my fortifications specialist, the plus 3 labour, so I don't mind that at all, and I'd give minus 1 labour for pretty much anything anyway. The foraging perk, however, is fantastic. Knowledge of gardening, so you can utilise some of the higher level gardens, and plus 1 food and plus 1 meds a day, so it's even more resource generation for you. I am a really big fan of a lot of the characters from Red Talon who generate you resources from their 5th perk, so you know what you're going to get without having to hope for a hero bonus. I think it makes them really worth the slight negativity you get from some of the other traits they have, like the Red Talon Contractor. A quick nod towards the Red Talon Contractor perk, by the way. 66% standing rewards is meh, this means they take longer to level up. However, irritable towards other people, unless you have somebody who is irritable, the conflicts you get from this are not that severe and don't last very long. I don't think it's as much of a turn-off, and I think, especially with some of the perks you can get from these things, I think it's a really big bonus having a Red Talon Operator in your base. A quick note before I chuck everything up on the screen so you guys can skip to the end of the video if you ever need to come here for a reference and don't have to listen to me droning on over and over again. There are 4 specific Red Talon hero bonuses that can replace the perk-specific ones you can get from each individual operator. We've already covered Reconnaissance, which I actually quite like, especially in a Nightmare mode where you kind of want to know what's around you. The other ones are Utility Vests, which is plus 10 light carrying capacity for everyone, which is pretty good. Noise Discipline, which is minus 3 zombie threat, which is really, really nice. And Ode Favours, which is plus 75 influence a day, which is meh. It's not 75%, it's just 75. So it's a flat number. It's not bad. Okay, thank you for watching, and I really hope it helped. I'm going to cover a lot more State of Decay stuff in the future, because I haven't really found anyone that's been covering it as in depth as you can. The Reddit's pretty good, but I think there could be more. So I'm going to focus this part of the Menines on just State of Decay, because me and Pete play it quite a lot. So chucking stuff out there for other people to be able to help would be great. And if you know anything that I've missed in this, then obviously let me know in the comments. I will keep my eye on them for more details. Thank you for watching, and here you have a list of all of the Red Talon operators ranked from S through to C. I'll see you later.